Hello Age of Wonderites, welcome back to another How to Play Age of Wonders 3 video series. This time we're doing something a little bit different, and I'm showing off how you gain experience and how you deal damage. So I've set up a classic map here. I'm playing both factions so I don't have to deal with any AI shenanigans. Basically what we're doing is we're going to march Merlin into Edward, and we're going to see how everything plays out. Also note that this is a very small map. This is the small map size, and it's the battle map settings. So you can see here how close we started, and only this very short narrow passage is in between us. And then these are always randomly generated as well, but typically you're talking about a very narrow gap in between you. Luckily as Merlin, I started off with a watchtower in my domain, and this means I could see exactly where he was without him being able to see where I was. So I thought that was very interesting. Okay, let's march this guy in. Yes, go Merlin. Oh, we'll wait till next turn then. Edward Portsmouth, and we lost the watchtower. But because it's inside our domain, they couldn't keep it. They just walked on top of it and moseyed on. And then it became ours again. So we'll send in our hero. Declare war on you, Merlin! Poor Merlin. Yeah, he received so much attack over the Age of Wonders series. So we're on top of the mountain, so this is a mountain battle map. Okay, so we'll start off with experience. So note that before we get into anything, heroes are tier 5 and leaders are tier 6, and that factors into all the experience gain in Age of Wonders. So there's two types of very basic experience. The first type is engage XP, and that includes that comes from attacks, including abilities and retaliations. So each action per tier equals 1 experience. So the tier 1 Civic Guard, you can check that out in the unit description, tier 1, his attack will give him 1 experience. His melee strike will give him 1 experience for each attack. Okay, and if you compare that to the... who has the archers? You guys do. So the archer will gain 3 experience for his shooting bow, and the Civic Guard will just gain 1 for his light crossbow. Yes, but also Merlin will gain 6 experience. Being a tier 6, he gains 6 for each one of his bolts. And our hero, Karen Treefolk, will gain 5 for each bow loosed from the longbow. Each arrow, yes. Okay. The other basic type of experience is the killing blow, and do note that the killing blow yields no engage experience. So, for example, if I kill a guy with Merlin's shock bolt, he doesn't gain that 6 experience from the attack, he just gains the killing blow experience. Okay, so killing blow is based on your tier, and you gain 5 experience per tier. So a tier 1 will give you 5 experience, a tier 2 will give you 10 experience, a tier 3 will give you 15, tier 5 will give you 25, and tier 6 will give you 30. Yes, I think that's right. I think those numbers are right. I'll put a wee table for all these all these damage and experience modifiers up on the screen when I talk about them, and I'll also put them down in the description box. It's going to be a very long description box for this video, I do think. Leaders and heroes also gain 2 special types of experience, and they yield another special type as well. So for every, I think I pressed escape, yes. For every 5 levels that a leader gains, they deliver, I guess, 5 extra experience. So a level 4, we'll go for a leader because it's a base of 30. Every level 4 leader rather will give the base 30 experience, but a level 5 leader will give 35 because he's got those 5 levels, and a level 10 leader will give 40 experience. So you can think maximum level is 20, so a level 20 leader will give you 5, 10, 15, next to 20 obviously. So he's giving you 50 experience for killing a maxed out leader, and that's a lot of experience. So leaders and heroes gain 2 special types of experience just on their own. living each day, so a passive experience per turn on the world map, and that is based on your research income. So the more spells you have researched, the more that will increase. It starts off at 1, and its maximum is 4. Also, using spells on the tactical map. On the tactical map, not the over map. So summoning a spy drone, or let's see, summoning a wisp or dread omen or phantasm warrior, they yield no experience, but combat spells do. Whether the leader is participating in the battle or not, if I use Magic Fist in a fight where the leader isn't participating, he still gains experience. But do note that the killing blow will interrupt this as well. So if this guy drops down a fist and kills the guy, he will gain that tier killing blow experience. Now, experience gained for using one of these spells is based on the mana cost. So it starts off at 1, and then for every 4 mana used, it increases by another 1. So if you can think, using a spell that is in between 1 to 4 mana will give you 1 experience, and then 5 to 9 mana will give you 2 experience, and then 10 to 14 gives you 3, and so on, keeps going up by 4, and 4 mana cost for every 1 point. So I think that's quite simple, and breaks things down very nicely. Now we'll start talking about damage, and I guess I'll show off a simple experience modifier. So we'll throw up our Civic Guards. So they're tier 1, and I'll send up anyone, doesn't really matter. It's not based on who you attack. Okay, I will end this turn. Okay, so we notice this guy has no experience, 0 out of 10. And if we shoot poor Meng the Night Owl, yes, shoot her in the face. Now we should have 1. Let's start you again. 1 experience, because you're tier 1, and you only got 1 attack off. Our Archer, on the other hand, we move forward 1, starting off with 0 experience, and should end up on 3. 1, 2, and 3. Yes. So I think that's pretty cool. Go away, tooltip. Now let's talk about damage modifiers, guys. So, you'll see this. Well, do it in the next turn. We'll talk about these guys that can actually make an action. So this guy has 11 damage, but that's actually 21. You always add 10 to the damage modifier, whether it be who has a magical attack. Do you? Okay, Merlin's Shock Pulse. That's actually 18. That's not it. So you always add 10 to your damage, and then you take away the opponent's defense. So do you have 9? Good. Okay, we can do all the examples on this single info card. So this 21 is minus 9. So you're talking what? 12 damage. So if we were to use this on this guy, the medium will be 12, and then you plus and minus 20% of 12 to find that range. Do you know what it typically says? Something like for 12 it will be what? 10, 14, I think. Terrible at math, guys. This might be wrong. Let's find out. Oh, it's right. Oh, hey, okay. So you've got 10 to 14, and your medium is 12. If we were to use that on somebody else, see, you can't really get into range anyone. We'll use your ability. So you've got 19, and take away their 9. It is 9, yes. Take away their 9 will then equal 10. So then you're talking what? 8 to 12. Yes. And what is your defense? 9. So it'd be the exact same on these guys. Yes. Okay. So you add 10, take away the opponent's defense from that new number, and then the minimum damage is always 1. You can't do no damage. Then you plus and minus 20% to find the potential damage range. And decimal point rounding, it follows the typical decimal point rounding. So 1.1 through to 1.4 equals 1, and 1.5 through to 1.9 equals 2. Yeah. And resistances are always applied to that final number. So Blight Weakness, if you had 12 poison damage, this wouldn't be applied to the poison damage, it would be applied to the end result after you take it away from resistance. Okay. Now critical hits and fumbles, they increase or decrease your damage by 35%, and it happens at the very start of the chain. So I think it's to your original base attack, and then you take it away from the defense. Maybe it's the end result number, I'm not 100% sure. But basically you roll once whether to find out you're going to crit or fumble, and it applies to all attacks in that chain, so every attack for this bow will crit or fumble. Also, let's see, I think I can show us off here under morale. You have a much higher chance to fumble than you do to crit. So at the worst morale setting, you have a 40% chance of fumbling, also 20% chance of deserting, which is scary. But at your highest morale, you've only got a 25% chance for a critical hit. So I like that. I actually think that's really good. It makes you think a lot more about placing your cities. So for example, placing elves underground or on Blight or whatever. Every elf that's guarding that city is going to have a 40% chance of fumbling, you know, because they really don't like the underground on Blight. So yeah, I think that's really interesting. Flanking. Now, can we do any flanking attacks right now? We can. Fantastic. Okay. So flanking adds +2 damage, +2 base damage to all active damage channels. So we select this healer, and we notice Bestow Iron Heart. That 15 health doesn't receive anything from flanking, and neither would any sort of convert spells, like convert you to my cause, there's a spell called convert, or inflict bleeding wounds, or anything that works on potency. They don't get affected by flanking damage, just damage modifiers do. And it's +2 to all the active damage channels. So if we see, it's applied to this base number, not the end result. So instead of that being 11, it is now 13, and that means it's 23. And then take away the 9 defense, and that's your end result. You'll also notice we have a ranged penalty that is applied at the very end of the damage calculation. So what is it? It's 23, and we're taking away 9 defense. 6, so you're talking, I think, 17 damage? I think it's 17 damage. It can't be. Well, anyway, that's how we work it out. Range penalty, 50%, and any kind of resistance comes off at the very end of the chain. You math guys can work this out. You're much better at this than I am. Okay, and also chance of success. I will bring up the Blight Doctor for this one. He's not in this battle, but he's, I think, one of the better units to use this as an example of. So, to work on spells that have potency, you see just to the right of Weakening Touch it says 15, then you have a wee resistance icon. That can be either or, it could be resistance or defense. And then on top of that, you have this wee poison icon, and that shows you the type of damage it is, and it works against your resistances. So you couldn't use it at all against the Blight Doctor. He's 100% immune because it's a poison spell. Okay, so potency versus defense or resistance. In this case, resistance. If it was even potency, so if it was 15 potency versus 15 defense, the chance for that spell to pass would be 50%. So that's the base chance to pass. The formula for this, for potency, is very confusing, and I can't wrap my head around it. But it's basically 50% of the potency, so 7.5, plus the sum of the attack minus the defense or resistance, in this case resistance. You times that number by 5%, and that's how you find the end result. I'll put a wee box up here for this, because that is quite a confusing one, and I can't get it at all. But the you can break that down into a much more basic form. Each point of resistance, each point of difference rather between the potency and the whichever defense modifier you're using is worth 5%. So we've got 50% for the 11 versus 11, and then for the 4 points of difference in between us is 20%. So we've got 50 plus 20, which equals what, 70%. So you've got a 70% chance of using a 15 potency on 11 resistance unit, and then you've got an extra 10% if you're using it on 9. So you what, 80% chance to pass on 9 resistance if it was a spell. So yeah, I think that's everything for damage modifiers now, guys. I know it's a very short video, it's only 14 minutes long, and do ask if you want to see more of this sort of thing, if you want to see them all, you know, in action. And I can do that. I can bring in a lot more Blight Doctors and a lot more spell casting units so we can check them all out. But basically I just wanted to show off exactly how everything works. before we go into talking about classes specifically, and specialization and race combinations and all that sort of thing. Yeah. Also, here's the knight. Yeah, pretty badass looking unit, isn't it? Yeah, it's the human tier 3 racial unit. Well, we'll be talking about this pretty soon in our upcoming videos, where we talk about the differences between the classes and the differences between the specializations and whatnot. Yeah, so thanks guys for checking out this video. Hopefully it's been of some use. Sorry if it's been a little bit confusing. I will try and clear things up with you know, pop-up boxes. But next video we're talking about all the race combinations and things, so it should be a lot of fun, and I'll see you guys there.